I have a question about the imperative, excuse me, imperatives in verses 6 and 8.
Yeah.
In verse 6, the peripateti
Yes,
in
yes,
the
right. Right here. Yeah.
present tense,
Yes.
and then the blepete in verse 8 is also in the present tense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as I learned in basic Greek that the present tense represents a continual action, and it's easy enough to see that in verse 6 to continue walking in Him, but in verse 8 to watch out lest anyone ensnares you. Well, if the occasion of this letter is because of these philosophies and human traditions that have starting to cause problems in the church, um, I'm not sure if that present or that continual aspect of the present is really coming through very strong on that, on the blepete. And
Yeah.
I'd just like to see what your reaction to that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you raise a good question, and let me just reflect on it, as you've invited me to do so. So when you have imperatives, you're really your two main options, and the only two in play for the New Testament are present and aorist. Now I know there's weird perfect imperative here and there, but basically present or aorist. And what is the difference between them? Well, again, painting with very broad strokes, very broad strokes. The present imperative is used more commonly for a general pattern of behavior, a general command. Like Jesus says, don't judge. That's the imperative, lest you be judged. Don't go around judging people, right? It's a general command. Whereas the aorist is used more commonly for a specific occasion. When Jesus says, go wash in the pool of Siloam, that's something you do then. He's not saying you should take up bathing in the pool of Siloam, right? It's not a it's a specific occasion. Now there are many nuances and exceptions to that. One of them is particular verbs, the inherent procedural nature of the activity will usually favor uh, one of those. So, in other words, like the verb of walking is something that naturally is conceived of. The very activity of walking is more naturally conceived of as open-ended and not like within including a beginning and ending and frame of reference. So that verb, I would expect, I'm not going to search on it right now because I don't think I could do it quickly and skillfully in front of everyone here. But if we search on this, I think we're going to find a high percentage of any imperatives to be present imperatives because it just fits with the concept procedural nature of the activity of walking, right? But it also fits with it also fits with the idea of a general pattern, right? And if we search on this and we find 95 plus percent, I'm just guessing, someone may be able to do it quickly and put it in the chat bar. But if we search and find that 95 plus percent of the imperatives in the New Testament are with peripateo, are presence, then we say, well, probably Paul wasn't even conscious of making a decision. Like this idiomatically, there was such a strong preference for this form. He probably didn't think about it. Now, I think with the blepeta, to watch out, the warning, if I'm not mistaken, I mean that is the form that's found over and over and over again in watch out, take care, take no. So it's almost like an idiomatic stylistic expectation. This is going to be followed by the may. Watch out lest this happen. Be on guard lest this take place. So that this doesn't take place. So I think probably there was, I'm guessing, and it does fit with the general pattern. Like, hey guys, you need to be on your guard. Someone's going to try to kidnap you for their false and deceptive philosophy. Don't let yourself be carried away captive by these erroneous teachers. So that's just my off the cuff reflections. Larry, do you have any follow up to that?
I appreciate that very much, the way you've explained that. I had not considered before the actual symbolism of the individual verb, such as
Yeah.
walking, and then
Yeah.
associating that with the tense as well, or the bleposein, but probably more metaphorical here, look out, watch out, that kind of a thing, rather than the literal seeing so much. So, Yeah, that does help me a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
The Well,
Rob,
I'll tell
can
you, a few years ago, if I can idea, I was helped in understanding that nuance more carefully by this book. I'm looking, I can't reach it because I'm Zacchaeus. I need to have my ladder up to climb and get the book. But there is a book up there, The Greek Verb Revisited. And so the language I'm using of the procedural nature of the verbal activity, that was helpful for me to say, oh, that's what it is. The inherent, I'll just repeat it because some of you may not be familiar with the inherent procedural nature of the verbal activity, the actual, hitting versus walking. Like if you talk about hitting, that probably, because by its very procedural nature, is something that happens sort of instantaneously and is thought of as a whole, that verb is going to be very strong, have a strong preference for the perfective aspect of the aorist, right?